Hi, this is Heidi from Snappy Tots, and I'm going to show you how I made these cute pumpkins. I used the same pattern, which is called Pumpkin Ridges, and made one out of cotton yarn and a size I hook, and it can be used as a little scrubby, or you could also make this size out of acrylic yarn and use it just for decoration. Then I used the exact same pattern and a size N hook and super bulky weight yarn to make this larger pumpkin. You are going to need 2 to 3 shades of yarn. On this one I had an orange and white variegated cotton that I used for the ribs, which is this inside part, and then I added an orange for the outside, and then you can either do brown on the top or I chose to do green. So let's get started. I have already started the first part. It has you create a chain of 15 stitches and then single crochet in the second chain and then across. Then we're just going to join these together to make that top loop. So I'm just going to slip stitch into the first single crochet I made, and there's my loop. Now I'm not going to finish this part off. I'm going to keep going and make the leaf. So I'm going to chain 8, then I'm going to slip stitch in the second chain from the hook, single crochet in the next, and a half double crochet, and another half double crochet, and then I'm going to double crochet 3 in a row. So in these last 3 chains I'm going to work 1 double crochet in each. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I've done the first half of my leaf. Now I'm going to just pivot my piece a little bit so that I can work in the back loops of that beginning chain. I'm going to do 3 double crochets in a row. So there's 1, and this is going to cause the leaf to curl a little bit here at the beginning. So 1 double crochet, 2, and 3. Then I'm going to half double crochet 2, so there's 1 and 2, so 1 in each of those stitches, then a single crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch in the next one and finish off my leaf. I had already made this once, and so that's why my yarn is the size that it needs to be. All right. So then we're ready to start the first part of the ridges. Okay, we're ready to change to our orange yarn now. So I'm going to take, and I still have my eye hook, I'm just going to join my yarn around the loop right before the leaf. So just like that. Then it says to chain 13. Okay, so there's my chain 13. I'm going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in the next 10. So I'm just going to work across, single crochet into each of those chain stitches. Snugger. Then to slip stitch in that last chain. So now we have our leaves, our loop, and then the sticking out. So now I'm going to pivot my piece so that I can work across these back loops. So I'm just going to pivot it around here so you can see how I've got it laid out. Okay, and I'm just going to work right into these back loops. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a single crochet, a half double in the next, a double crochet in this stitch, and then in this one, then I'm going to do 2 double crochet in the next one. So 1 and 2, then 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 double crochet in the next, 1 and 2, and a double crochet, a double crochet, a half, a single crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch in the last stitch. And this will complete our first rib. Now when I talk about ribs through the pattern, this is what I'm talking about. And it's these different parts, kind of like pages in a book. So each one of these is a rib. So we've done our first rib. All right. So now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to, again, pivot the piece. I'm not going to turn it or flip it or anything. I just finished, I chained 1, and now I am going to work in the front loops along the center post, the single crochet that I just did. Now, I'm just going to work in these front loops, and I'm going to single crochet 12. So, in the front loops, there's 1, kind of straddling the camera here, so sorry if this seems a little awkward. It's not this difficult. 3, 4, working my way across, single crochet in the front loops of each of these. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1 more makes my 12. Okay, so my beginning where I attached it is a little loose here, but I'm going to show you in a second how that's not going to be a big deal. So here's the front of my piece. Now if I flip it over, here's those the back loops. And these are really important when we get ready to do our very last rib, the 12th rib. We'll be working into those. So now I'm going to chain 1. Oh, wait a minute. Already getting ahead of myself. Okay, this is a very important step. As I do each rib, I will work away towards the base, and then I will work back up. And as I come to the end here, each time I need to slip stitch. So I'm just going to put my hook underneath the loop. I'm going to pull through, and then I'm going to pull through that last stitch. And I'm just going to do that every single time in that same spot. And the reason why, and you can't, eventually you won't even be able to see those slip stitches. It'll be so stuffed in there. But if I don't keep working a slip stitch around that loop, I'll just be making a big long line that is flat. This is going to create our ball. So after I did the 12 single crochets, it says to slip stitch in the base of the beginning top stem loop That's what I call this throughout the stem loop. So just right here at the base. Now I'm ready to do my chain 1, and I'm going to turn. Okay, so now I'm going to work into the back loops of the single crochets I just did, not these loops. Do not work across these loops until the very end. Just pretend like they don't exist. When I talk about back loops, I'm talking about the ones I just made. So I single crocheted up, and now in the back loops, which are the ones that are away from me, I'm going to work the following. I'm going to do a single crochet, then a half double crochet, a double crochet in each of the next 2. Then I'm going to do 2 double crochet in the next stitch, then a double crochet, 2 double crochet in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in each of the next 2, 1 and 2, then a half double crochet, a single crochet, and then a slip stitch in the end. This is my second rib. So I have my first one, here's my second one. So for each rib, I'm going to chain 1, turn my piece, and I'm going to work in the remaining loops of that previous rib. So I just did this rib. Remember, we worked in the back loops, which left the front loops open. I'm going to chain 1, turn my piece. I'm going to single crochet in each of these for 12 towards the loop and the leaf. So as I work towards the loop and the leaf, I single crochet in the remaining loops. Then as I work towards the base is when I create the single and half double and double crochet and increases back towards the end. I like to think of it that way so that as I'm going, I don't have to keep going, okay, now am I supposed to be doing the single crochet or the rib part? As I go towards the loop, I'm just doing single crochets. Then as I go towards the base, which is this end, is when I'm creating the rib. So I'm going to work, the pattern says to turn to work in the remaining loops of the previous rib. So that's the one I just made. Remember, if I flip it over, there's these loops back here hiding. We are ignoring those. Do not work into those. That's the very last rib. We're going to play with those, and that'll bring our pumpkin all together. So let's do another rib together. So the remaining loops, I did chain 1 and turn. Now I'm going to work 12 single crochets back towards my loop. All right, now at this end, remember, each time we need to single crochet around this loop in the same spot. Now, I say the same spot, meaning around the base of the loop. Here's the little loop, there's the base. But as you work your way around, you're going to have to push this leaf out of the way, and it's okay to slip stitch around this back part too. You don't have to go all right here and then your leaf isn't going to have a happy little home. So you might have to do it around the back, okay? So the way I do that, just to show you again, slip stitch, oh, where do I put my hook? So I go through the loop, I pull up my yarn, and then I just pull it through, and then just pull it tight. And as you start getting all these in, you're going to have to really stick the crochet hook in to find a spot because it's going to get really stiff. And then I'm just going to chain 1 and turn. Now I'm going to work in the back loops, and I'm working away from the loop stem. So this is where I'm going to do the different sizes of stitches. I'm just going to keep working back and forth doing that each time, and I'll be right back with a Presto Changeo Instant Pumpkin so I can show you how to do the next step. Okay, so far I have worked 7 ribs. and I wanted to show you the joining around the center loop. I'm getting ready to do that again, and they will start to spread out, and you just need to grab onto it and pull them together. Now the biggest question I get asked, or the question I get asked most frequently is, does it matter if I slip stitch there? Or other times people will say, oh, mine isn't coming together as a pumpkin. I've got this loop and then everything is just straight. And that's because they're not slip stitching around this loop. That is the whole piece. If you're just coming to the end and slip stitching in the top of the rib and chaining one and turning, it's not going to work. At the end, if you've done that and you've done all of the work, you could go back through and weave in and out of all of the top edge. Like if this is what your top edge looked like and you have the loop here, you could weave in and out of these and pull them together to make it join. So if you're coming to the end, this end, and not slip stitching into the ring, you're going to have something that looks more like this edge. So this is just helping us pull it all together into the top, and it's covering the base of the stem, and this is what we have so far. So this is our one side, and this first rib does stick out just a little bit until we work the very last rib, and the very last rib is worked in here, and it kind of pulls it all together, and so don't worry about that one at this point. So you can work on either side. See, I have some slip stitched on this side of the leaf, and I just pushed it out of the way and put some on this side. So I'm just at the end of this first. I did my single crochet across to start the base of this rib, and I'm just going to pull a loop through and do the slip stitch, chain one, turn my piece, and I'm ready to work in those back loops to create the next rib. So I will be back when I have 11 ribs finished, and we'll continue on your pumpkin. All right, I have worked 11 ribs, and I just finished the last one. I'm at the bottom. Now, what I'm going to do is I have since we worked this last stitches in the back loops, I have these front loops left. Then let's go back to the very first one we made. Remember how we did this one and I said these loops we're going to work on again? Now, here's what we're going to do. We are going to take and fold the wrong sides of our pumpkin together in the middle. We're going to line up those stitches, the loops from the very first one, the loops from the last one we did, and we're going to work backwards over those. Now, in the past, we have done single crochet when we go to the loop, and then we do our different size stitches back. You can do a couple of things here. If it's easier for you, you can add these two together. You can single crochet through both layers back to the loop and then make your rib back. What I like to do is right at this point, I just work straight across and doing my rib. So through both layers, I'm just going to insert my hook into this one and into this one. And so I'm just going to pretend as if I'm just working through one. I'm going to do the first single crochet. I'm just going to keep lining them up as I go. Then it's a half double. Then we're going to do a double crochet in each of the next two stitches. Then we're going to do 2 double crochet in the next stitch, 1 and 2. Then we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next one, and then 2 double crochet in the next one. Both times I'm picking up a loop from each of my layers. Okay, double crochet, 1 and 2, then a half, single. Down here to the last one, and then we're going to slip stitch. And then, of course, I'm at the end again, so I'm going to slip stitch around my beginning chain, my loop stem chain thingy, okay? So that pulls it together as this weird pumpkin. Now, I know that at this point it looks more like a carrot. We're going to pick. So we finished our ribs, and now I have been adding the first row of the edging. So what I did is I attached a darker color orange to the end of one rib. You can start at the stem side or the bottom, and I'm just going to work across that rib. When I get to the end, I chain one, and I just start working across the next rib. Then I get to that end, I chain one, and I just keep going back and forth. So it makes kind of this zigzag. So I'll show you what I did. So I got to the end of the rib, and at the end, slide my hook back on here. I'm going to chain one. Then I'm just going to start working in that first stitch and do single crochet two, or excuse me, single crochet three, half double crochet three, one, two, three, two half double crochet in the next stitch, two half double crochet in the next stitch. That helps round your ridges. Half double crochet three, so one, two, three, and I just move all these ridges out of the way, and I'm going to work three single crochets. So one, two, and three. All right. So I've done back and forth, and it just makes this zigzag. Don't worry about the bottom. We're going to pull that together, and it'll suck that right up in. So now for the last round, I am going to chain one, turn so I can work right across that rib I just did. I'm going to slip stitch and chain one. I'm just working right across, so you can see my dark orange. I'm going to work right back into those same stitches. So I'm just going to slip stitch, chain one, slip stitch, chain one, and just keep working all the way across the ends. So it makes this nice bumpy edge. As you work this part of the trim on the ribs, I want to show you something that's really helpful to pull your pumpkin together. As you come to each end, you'll notice that the chain one where you turned and went down the next rib creates kind of a little bit of a gap. So what I like to do is I take and slip stitch. So I'll go underneath that chain and back into, here's the base of my loop where I've been doing all of the slip stitches into it. I'm just in the middle of the loop kind of. And I just pull through and do a single crochet, a slip stitch, and that pulls it tight. And so it's going to help. See how it pulls these ribs right up to the top and just makes it nice and clean. Same thing as you go around to the bottom, you can slip stitch into that bottom. That one's not as important because we're going to weave in and out of those stitches and pull that together as a pumpkin. But as you come up to the top of each one, if you'll just slip stitch into that center space again, the same place that you've been working all of your other slip stitches as you came, we did a rib and we slip stitch into the center thing. Just kind of do that as you do this trim. Just do a single crochet into that, a slip stitch into that center part. And this won't be as open when we get finished. That'll just pull it all tight. By the time you get into your last one, it'll be hard to fit into those. So I'm just going to keep working around. So slip stitch, chain one. Again, I'm just zigzagging up and down. Slip stitch, chain one. You can do this. I like to keep it kind of loose to give it a little bit more of a wiggle on this edging. But see, I started here and just working my way up and around, and each time I come up here, I'm just slip stitching into that center thing to keep my pumpkin all together. So I'll just keep working on that and come back and help you finish it. All right, our pumpkin's almost finished. We've put all of our edging on, and now we just need to close up this bottom edge. If you ended your edging at the bottom, you could just cut and leave a tail. I didn't, and so I just attached a piece of matching yarn to the bottom. And the nice part about this project is all of your little tails can just stick right down inside. So I just tied a knot, stuck that down inside, and now I'm just going to take my yarn needle and weave in and out of these bottom stitches. And I'm just going to cinch this right closed. Now, this is really similar to how I do my little peach scrubbies that can be apples and different things. And I had a lady say once that she puts a little sachet of cinnamon down inside for her apples and leaves this so that she can open it and close it and put fresh ones in. And I thought that was a really great idea. So that is something that would be fun. Okay, so I've gone in and out and I can pull that closed. Before I do that, I'm going to pull it fairly snug, but then I'm going to take and stick my yarn needle so that it goes up through the top. And I am silly and chose a short one. If you've got a longer yarn needle, use that, because we're going to take and stick it so it comes out the top. So I've just gone straight through the center of my pumpkin, not in and out of the stitches as I went up. I'm just going to pull it through the center, and I'm going to pull it. Now, when I do this, it's going to suck in the bottom of my pumpkin. When I do my apples, I like to pull it really tight and make a little short squishy one. What you could do is you could pull some really tight and have little short pumpkins. You could leave some a little bit looser. That's about where I like to do my pumpkin. It's just snug it up in a little bit so it pulls that bottom edge. And that way you could have different sizes. Some tall, some short, fat, whatever you want to do. And then I just am going to secure this. Now, this time I did it, I have this little open ring here, and that drives me crazy. So what I like to do is I'm going to take, I've got this other yarn tail, I'm just going to stick right down inside there. I'm going to get this to where I want it height-wise. That's about a good squishiness right there. And I'm going to tie a little bit of a knot. So as I do the next step, when I pull this ring closed, it's not going to keep pulling my pumpkin tighter and scrunch it all up. So that stopped. Now I can take this yarn tail and I can weave around the center part, and I can pull that closed also. I really like it when it has a really nice tight ring. I did a better job of working those slip stitches closer and pulling them really snug. And so the bottom and the top, and our pumpkins are all done.